We're about to get started here. Today is Thursday, September 26th, and this is a joint meeting with Palm Desert City Council, successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency, Palm Desert Housing Authority, and the Palm Desert Board of the Library Trustees. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 2449, the meeting may be conducted as a hybrid meeting allowing public access via teleconference or in person, and up to 2 council members may attend remotely. We have the call to order, please, or the roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Nastandi.
Here.
Councilmember Truby.
Here.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Present.
All council is present.
This week, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Truby. And this inspiration will be from Councilmember Kelly.
Recently, Mayor Pro Tem Harnick and I were privileged to attend Bells Across America, the annual concurrent ringing of bells to commemorate the signing of the United States Constitution. And locally, it was held at St. George's Greek Orthodox Church and led by the Daughters of the Revolution. They always distribute a laminated card with the preamble to the Constitution. And it's very appropriate to revisit these familiar words. Our founders hoped to form a more perfect union, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to themselves and their posterity. May our actions and words today be focused on the general welfare, and may we reflect the domestic tranquility they sought.
Thank you, Councilmember Kelly. We will now move on to item 5. For those of you following along at home, our agenda item 5, awards, presentations, and appointments. This is a proclamation for the Fire Prevention and Mini Muster Month. Who do we have present to accept? And for those of you that may not know about the program, it is a well-beloved program by our kiddos, and they truly look forward to it, and I'm happy that there are pictures for you to see. Whereas during the month of October, Fire Station number 33 of the Western Division of the Riverside County Fire Department, California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, Historical Society of Palm Desert, and Desert Sands Unified School District trained Palm Desert third grade students in fire prevention and personal safety through the Fire Prevention and Mini Muster program. Whereas the Fire Prevention and Mini Muster Program celebrates its 32nd year at Gerald Ford Elementary, Abraham Lincoln, and George Washington Carter Schools, its 27th year at James Earl Carter Elementary School, and 19th year at Ronald Reagan Elementary School. And whereas firefighters and volunteers will continue to train Palm Desert students to maintain standards that will ensure a fire-safe city for many years to come. Now, therefore, I, Karina Quintanilla, Mayor of the City of Palm Desert, California, along with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2024 Fire Prevention and Mini Muster Month in the City of Palm Desert and urge all citizens to pay tribute to the children who participate in this most worthwhile event.
Hi, I'm Bev James with the Historical Society of Palm Desert. And we have been putting this on, I think it's over 32 years, but COVID messed with us. So this is our 30th year of actually doing it. I can't tell you how many stories we've heard from the children that are no longer children, that are adults that still remember learning about fire safety. And if you can have a program for kids that promotes safety and they remember it for years, we're just thrilled to be involved with it. Thank you.
There's a picture that will take her home.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks again. We now move on to city manager comments.
Madam Mayor, we had one more presentation.
Oh, my apologies. That didn't get put in the other one. Thank you. I ended up putting the different agenda. Can you read the title of that agenda item, please?
It is a presentation from California State University San Bernardino President Tomas Morales.
Good afternoon. I would personally like to acknowledge Mayor Karina Quintanilla, members of the Palm Desert City Council, for their long-standing support for California State University San Bernardino Palm Desert campus and our most recent partnership with the iHub. As you know, the iHub is a strategic collaboration among CSUSB School of Entrepreneurship, the city, and the Inland Empire Center for Entrepreneurship. It aims to foster entrepreneurial growth and technological innovation within the vibrant Palm Desert community and the entire Coachella Valley. The iHub first opened in November of 2021 and houses CSUSB's Institute for Public Management and Governance, as well as the university's hospitality management and cybersecurity programs. It is designed to inspire, educate, and connect entrepreneurs with industry experts and resources vital for success. CSUSB entrepreneurship faculty and staff, students and alumni actively participate in mentoring programs, provide invaluable guidance and expertise to growing the entrepreneurial community. The co-working space at the Palm Desert iHub is ideal for home-based businesses, remote workers, business meetings, and business relocating to Palm Desert, which have not yet moved into a commercial space. CSUSB sees this partnership as a transformative opportunity for Palm Desert. And by teaming up with the city, aims to create dynamic ecosystem that fosters innovation, creativity, and economic development right here. So you can already see what I mean when I say that the PDC views itself as an anchor institution here in the Coachella Valley, and most particularly here in Palm Desert. We are here to support the residents of the valley so that they can reach their academic goals. This includes supporting them throughout their educational journey, ensuring that they graduate with a core set of skills which include a commitment to lifelong learning, which will serve them well throughout their lives. And also providing them with training in the current and anticipated future career options here in the Valley. So here are some updates on the PDC's current student enrollment. As of September 10th, 2,157 students have enrolled in one or more courses at the Palm Desert campus. Our programs to recruit students and encourage their enrollment include, but are not limited to, outreach to schools and counselors, financial aid, information sessions, preview days where prospective students and their families can visit campus to learn about university life and to what to expect as they prepare to apply, followed by Cal State Apply workshops. And programs created through partnerships, for example, the Students Engaged in Educator Development and Services Program, through SEEDS, the College of the Desert, Palm Springs Unified School District, and the PDC and Riverside County Office of Education. Having afforded opportunities for students, especially those in career technical education pathways and programs to learn college credit as a high school student, thereby increasing their access to post-secondary opportunities through advancement of their educational goals. Some of our recent highlights include that we are welcoming our largest honors cohort this fall 2024 semester. PDC is an education partner on two IE Regional K-6 Education Collaborative Grants. We are working on expanding the high school university dual enrollment program with local school districts, and a joint cabinet meeting with College of the Desert is being scheduled. Let me next highlight a few of the academic programs at the Palm Desert campus. They include nursing, with the pre-licensure BSN program prepares the graduates to take the National RN examination to begin professional nursing practice. Nursing students are also active with the Street Nursing Initiative, which increases access to healthcare by serving the sheltered and unsheltered and other vulnerable populations in the Coachella Valley. Through most nurse clinics and other outreach programs, with the goal of improving the well-being of people, which include providing preventive services and treating chronic diseases and medication management. The program aims to decrease emergency room visits and the impact to acute care facilities. The Nursing Street Medicine team delivers a valuable service at no cost to those most economically in need of basic necessities. They also increase the number of registered nurses in the Valley who have experience engaging vulnerable populations. Social work, this vibrant program offers roadmaps for PDC students to help them navigate through the program, which offers classes both online and in person. Those roadmaps are provided both for first-time freshmen and transfer students. Hospitality. We know the Coachella Valley is home to a robust hospitality industry, and the PDC therefore offers career training and internships for it. One example, each year, hospitality students plan a gala which not only provides them event management experience, but also doubles as a fundraiser for the program itself. And kinesiology, which is moving from a transfer only to a full-fledged four-year degree program, along with a new health promotion concentration. Our future plans include a program in environmental studies. and I'm excited to talk with you today about our ongoing building projects, our Student Services Center. This is an important milestone in the growth of the Palm Desert campus, as this project will be the first new building on the campus in 16 years and is the first state-funded project for the campus. We are grateful for receiving the $79 million needed to build this new facility, which is being designed for maximal flexibility as the campus grows and develops. The project has moved into the permitting phase. We will celebrate the official groundbreaking later in the spring of 2025. The Palm Desert campus is taking major strides in building out more expansive community service programs funded by Palm Desert area residents and supporters. A few examples: the CW Charitable Fund with their commitment to providing the PDC nursing and street medicine programs. Similarly, the Clark Teaching Scholarship and the Kaiser MSW Scholarship are funded by Palm Desert residents and are geared towards answering the call for more essential workers in the fields of teaching and mental health services in Palm Desert community. Lastly, the Park family has shown its commitment to the expansion of the PDC Hospitality Management Program with the end goal of producing professionals in the region's greatest economic powerhouse. There are only a few examples of opportunities that total nearly $3 million and which illustrate the commitment of cultivating donors in the region. So today is also an invitation of all residents of the Coachella Valley to join us in supporting the expansion of student programs and boosting overall enrollment numbers at the PDC. There's much more I can share, but I realize I have used up my allotted speaking slot. I'm therefore leaving you with a handout summarizing the achievements and initiatives of the Palm Desert campus over these past few years. My thanks to the mayor and the council for their time today. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for, oh, obviously we need to give you gratitude. We can't thank you enough for what you do for the students in the region.
Thank you.
It's not just Palm Desert, it's not just the Coachella Valley. People commuting as far as Blythe to come and take classes here. It is an understatement to say that this is an economic opportunity. Education is mobility for a lot of our families. So I'm proud to have you here and to watch the growth. And thank you for your partnership in allowing us to have a cooling center in the area. We know it's the only cooling center we have in North Palm Desert. We know a lot of students and families are struggling economically, and knowing they have a safe place to be is just another example of our wonderful partnership. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
This has been decades that we've been working together, and I appreciate we're seeing some real action. We're going forward, and it's wonderful to see. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much.
And thank you to your team. I'm glad to see plenty of them present. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We now move on to the city manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff has been receiving some inquiries in terms of our current staffing model for police services as well as crime trends. So we wanted to take the opportunity to invite Lieutenant Porras forward to kind of share with council and the community exactly the actions that we have been taking the last few years to ensure that we've got properly staffed sheriff's department, some special programs that we're running, and also what the crime trends recently have been looking like, given some of the strategies that Lieutenant Porras and his staff have been putting into action. So at that point, I'll turn it over to you.
Before turning it over to Lieutenant Porras, I'll run through a couple of quick slides that give the context to the activity here in Palm Desert. City staff works really closely with Lieutenant and his team. In addition to caring for the year-round population of 52,000, Palm Desert being a major employment center of education, our daytime population increases to about 74,000 daytime population. In addition, during the season, we added an additional 15,000 to our population. So this doesn't include the tourists that come to Palm Desert. So in looking at the activity, there's a year-round population, but the context is, the business of the station and calls is these other additional population sources. In serving the community, the contract has 80 positions, both sworn and non-sworn, with patrol, 5 dedicated teams, and 2 regional task force that are funded through it. Next slide. Over the last couple of years, the city has added resources. In fiscal year 21-22, a business district officer was added to the contract, a school resource officer added in 22-23. And right now, by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have 133 ALPR cameras deployed in the city. This provides a great amount of time savings for law enforcement, as well as helps quickly close cases. In May, in response to requests about speed enforcement and traffic enforcement, we worked with the lieutenant and his team to run an overtime operation for speed and traffic enforcement. So right now, through overtime, we're funding the equivalent of 2 additional motor officers in response to those concerns. I'll turn it over to the lieutenant now to go through the rest of the slides.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me up here. So what you're looking here is Part 1 crimes in the city of Palm Desert. And what Part 1 crimes are is a group of serious offenses tracked by the FBI under the Uniform Crime Reporting Program. They're divided into 2 sections: violent crime and property crime. As you can see, Palm Desert saw a fluctuating crime rate over this period. And obviously COVID and the pandemic did have an impact on how crime occurred here in Palm Desert, and now we're coming out of it. But what I want to note is in 2023, there is a decrease in Part 1 crimes in Palm Desert. And to give you a comparison, you may have read in the news recently, California released some crime statistics. The violent crime rate in California was 3.3%. In Palm Desert last year in 2023, there was a decline of 20% in a decrease. For property crime, California, yes. So in comparison, California to Palm Desert, there was for violent crime, there was violent crime increased in California 3.3%. In comparison, Palm Desert experienced a 20% decrease in 2023. The next thing was property crime. In California, it decreased 1.8%. In Palm Desert, it decreased 6.91%. Obviously, these we're trending downward using UCR data. We're doing a few things to keep that down. We're having proactive policing through focused patrols and targeted operations. We're having community engagement through local residents, business owners with safety initiatives, including crime prevention and education. And also, as you mentioned earlier, technology. ALPR, the city's invested greatly in ALPR and has been a game changer in how we do business and helps us investigate and solve some of these crimes. Next slide, please. So the next slide is our response times in Palm Desert. Obviously, going back from 2019 to 2023, you may ask yourself, well, calls for service have declined, and these calls for service include self-initiated activity by our deputies and community service officers. But then you see the response times are climbing up a little bit. There's many reasons that happen, but one of the things we're focusing on is all the state mandated laws that are being implemented for law enforcement, such as SB2, body-worn cameras, domestic violence and mental health protocols, and California Post de-escalation training. It's all aimed to improve transparency and safety. However, these mandates impact the police response times in both direct and indirect ways. The deputies and officers are on these calls for a longer period of time. There's an increased administrative burden because of body-worn cameras and collection of data. And obviously, you're dealing with the same amount of calls, but now it's taking longer. So although these mandates can result in longer response times, they're also aimed at improving community trust, enhancing safety for both officers and the public. Next slide. So all in all, as you can see, for 2023, our trends are going down. We're obviously, we feel like Palm Desert is a safe place. We're actively combating high-profile crimes. One thing I wanted to note about that is what you see in the news, you see the retail theft rings, you see the bank robberies, you see the robberies that are occurring at the mall or the jewelry store. One big thing that they have in common is we've captured these suspects, not within the valley. We've captured them in Los Angeles County, Orange County, San Bernardino County. So our staff are actually, going out and tracking these people down, which we're always going to pursue them, but it takes staffing levels to do that, and in cooperation with, larger agencies and getting their assistance. So we're always going to be, going after the people that commit crimes here in Palm Desert. I've already spoken with the legislative mandates, so go ahead and next slide, please. So in the summer, I think we did make a comment regarding additional patrols for traffic, 885 citations through overtime. And there was a comment from one of our members of the public said, I wonder how many people or how many citations were given on Hoveley. So I looked up the number and it was 204. So we were out there, Hoveley is a target, but we're out there. Obviously we can't be everywhere, but we're hearing everybody's complaints and concerns and trying to address them all. So for 2024, crime and our response times are trending down a little bit right now. But with that, I want to give you a caveat. It's a positive progress, but it's important to recognize that the data provided in the quarterly reports just represents a snapshot in time. So the vetting process for the crime statistics need to be accurate and reflective of the actual situation, which occurs after the reports are done with the UCR report. So we can give you a glimpse of what's going on, which right now we're seeing a trend of response times going down, crime going down, but up until that report is vetted, and let me give you an example. Well, why do you have to wait till the end of the day or the end of the year to actually compile the statistics? A crime may be reported in Palm Desert, but after investigation, it may not happen. It may have occurred somewhere else, and vice versa. So that's why the statistics, you need to make sure they're vetted properly until you can report on them.
Can you repeat that part in terms of if it happened here versus it didn't and how that?
So that's if, and let me give you an example. If you get a report of a stolen, or a fraud, a fraud that the person reports it in Palm Desert, but the reality the crime did not occur in Palm Desert, it occurred in a different jurisdiction, that crime is not going to get statted in the city of Palm Desert. But it's up until the investigation is complete, thorough, vetted, prosecution is when we figure out, hey, that crime needs to be reported elsewhere, not in Palm Desert. But on the other end, another crime can be reported in another jurisdiction and ultimately happening in Palm Desert. So that's why it's important to wait for the statistics to be vetted and compiled.
So the estimate right now is based on the essentially soft data that you're getting from
Correct.
UCR.
Yes, it's soft data regarding the trends currently in 2024.
Okay.
That's why we did not provide any 2024
Perfect.
statistics.
And then after all of that gets finalized, does that get compared with what's reported to the FBI? Because I don't think UCR is going to report to the FBI. How do those get?
The UCR report submitted by our department through our head crime analyst, and is sent to the FBI.
Oh, wonderful. Thank
So.
you. See, again, gotta love local education.
So obviously, like I said, I talked about LPR is a very big game changer, and we're also evaluating new technology. But the biggest thing is that we do have a very supportive city staff, city council, and not to mention the public. And we can't do that job without having everybody's support. And I believe that's the last slide. Any other questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Officer Porras. I can't thank you enough and all the deputies for all that you do. And I had a couple questions. One, in terms of violent crime, does shoplifting get put into that data if somebody is stopped by a security guard and they don't want to cooperate? Can you give a few examples of what goes into these statistics? And then my second question is, are you having any challenges recruiting more deputies?
So obviously retail theft is a problem we do have in the city. You have a lot of businesses here, and that's what attracts people to the area. And yes, so in a sense, if a loss prevention officer stops somebody from committing a crime within one of their stores and they put up a struggle and there's some force, well, essentially that is now turned into a robbery. Okay, and people think robbery, you're walking down the street and somebody just accosts you. Well, no, that's not necessarily always the case. That's now classified as a robbery. So those cases are turned in and categorized as a violent crime. So any other questions on that or clarification? Okay.
Could you repeat what you just said
So
so it sinks in?
yeah, no problem. So you have a loss prevention officer. Well, obviously you do have a large retail a presence here in the city. And then they stop somebody and for shoplifting, and then they don't want to cooperate. And there is, somebody says, hey, you're coming with me, let's go. And that person puts up a resistance, and there was some, obviously physical interaction. Well, in a sense, that just turned into from a misdemeanor to a robbery because of the force or threat that was used. So, that happens. I mean, it does happen on a regular basis out here. Unfortunately, it's something that we do deal with, and we're obviously trying to combat that with a retail theft with our business district team and providing more overtime to try to combat these problems. So, the city's been very supportive and put in this overtime initiative and giving us the times and the opportunity to put more staff out there. But onto your second question, yeah, we are having a recruitment problem. Not too long ago, KSQ did an article on law enforcement recruiting. Some people don't want to become law enforcement officers, and we're struggling a little bit, but we're getting by along with other agencies. Obviously, you see California Highway Patrol, other agencies are hiring. Everybody is hiring, and we're just looking for applicants who want to serve the community. And it is a struggle, but we're getting through it. And it's the officers. If you wanted to hire an officer today, it could take up 8 to 18 months to get somebody in the street. But we feel that the overtime is an additional resources that we're putting out is making a difference. Obviously, we can't say it's going to stop crime, but obviously, the presence of law enforcement in the streets, let me give you an example. I think we all can feel to this example. You're driving down the street and you see a deputy or a CHP card, and then you think, I do it myself. Am I going too fast? Did I change my blinker this time? I got my seatbelt on. It gives you that awareness. And that's something as law enforcement, we feel that the presence is a deterrent in itself.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, thank you very much for answering my questions.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Thank you, Lieutenant Porras. Appreciate the report. We're using UCR data here for this presentation. What is the source of the data that we use in the Public Safety Committee?
So it's from our internal data, but like I said, it's a snapshot in time, and that's what we have it's a glimpse, and it's more of a, after it's all vetted is when it gets reported to the UCR. So it is our internal data that we use as a department, and then it goes to UCR. So
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah, I mean, so over the course of what we're seeing in, say, August, or we didn't maybe have a meeting in August, but this month's public safety meeting, that data may
change.
get massaged a little
Yeah,
bit over the next couple of months, but it actually gets submitted to the FBI.
Correct, because of the vetting process that has to happen.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here. Oh, you go.
By all means, Councilmember Kelly.
I'll join with the others in expressing our profound gratitude for the work you do, as well as everyone else in the chain of command, all the deputies out there working their assignments. I consistently hear positive affirmation and appreciation from the public. So please know that the council, on behalf of the population, is very, very appreciative. And this council has formally adopted a position advocating for some changes in those retail theft laws to give you better tools. My question is, you and I have spoken informally about how the heavy tourism in Palm Desert has an impact on some of these statistics, because people who know each other, may travel from out of town, and there may be a crime or an alleged crime that occurs between them that doesn't really reflect on how safe Palm Desert is for the ordinary resident. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, so what we were talking about earlier is obviously you do have a large tourism population. You have a lot of hotels, and obviously during your season, and even actually now, people come into the valley, and after oftentimes, there's allegations and there's incidents that happen, and one way or another, they're reported to us. And that necessarily didn't mean that a Palm Desert resident was affected by it. It's these people coming in, affecting and being in your city, and things happen, unfortunately, and they leave and they report it. So that happens on a regular basis. You think of the shock and awe when you read the news or hear the news. It's not that kind of case. And when we're talking about violent crimes, and also when it comes to domestic violence, obviously we can't be in people's homes, tell them how to live their lives. Unfortunately, that's something that happens very regularly to hotels, but also with that part is something that gets reported on a regular basis. So to your question, it's something that does happen on a regular basis because of the large tourism draw you have here in the city.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Those numbers would be reported if they happened here. You said you've got a comment?
I do. When we talk about shoplifting, because that is an issue here, you said it's a property crime, is that how you
Correct.
characterize it? And so often we'll hear, why is there a high rate of property crime in Palm Desert? We are the center for retail in the valley. And to give an example, there was a famous bank robber, Willie Sutton. And when they asked him, why do you rob banks? He said, well, that's where the money is. And it's the same reason people come to Palm Desert to shoplift. Here are the goods. So that does happen. I think the ALPRs have helped us tremendously. The program that we had to reimburse our shop owners if they put a camera in their business has helped us. All of those things work. So I thank you, Lieutenant, for all that you do. And it's nice to hear about responsible vetting and responsible reporting of the crime issues that may or may not occur. So we really appreciate hearing the calm and accurate version of what happens in our city. And I thank you for making it safe. And I, for one, will tell you, I never feel unsafe walking down the street. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
As I was doing my basic math over here, if we have, according to the estimates, 52,779 residents and another 15,000 that come when they're in season, plus the folks that work here, shop here, et cetera. So does that mean that it increases by 74,000 or increases to 74,000? Can you clarify that? So quick question for Chris, and then
Yeah.
I'll follow up.
You're looking at seasonal, about 90,000 population, and you add them up.
Okay, perfect. So with that population that is a substantial growth, and within that are the people that may stay. I mean, we can't say that people don't come stay the night at a hotel with fake IDs and then come rob wherever they are. Do you find that you would be best suited or best supported by having additional officers to patrol during the day or the night? Does it make a difference? And again, how can we best support?
So yes, it would. But then obviously we're always looking through our deployment of staffing levels with the city or our data that we get. So it really depends on the time of season, but additional staffing would be a great. Obviously, people like the feeling of, like I mentioned before, as a resident here at Palm Desert, you do like the presence and visual deterrent of law enforcement. So, to your question, yes, it would be beneficial.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you and your team and everyone that comes to our regular meetings. And Now that the heat is cooling down, I'm sure it's easier in your heavy equipment and vests. So thank you again.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and I'll pass on my support to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, following our city manager's comments and presentation, we move on to item 7, mayor and council members' reports and requests for action. Let's start with Councilmember Truby.
No comments this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Kelly.
Just one request for action. The comments submitted before this meeting included a petition from users of Holy Soccer Park itemizing some concerns. So I simply want to invite a public assurance that those will be addressed by staff or the Parks and Recreation Committee as may be appropriate.
Yes, our Public Works team has responded to those concerns, and there's already a plan of action that has been shared with the residents as well as the city council.
I had that the same concern and question, so I'm happy that it's being presented. Do you have anything?
That's all.
Okay.
No comments this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. This morning, I had the opportunity to, with many of the staff members here, we went over to the Palm Desert Community Center, and it is under renovation, and it's wonderful. There's more gym space, there's more dance room space. They've done a great job on it, and it'll be a great asset for our families, our children. And I look forward, I think the official opening is going to be in December. And I look forward to seeing that. It's the one right across the parking lot here. Great asset to the community. Also, Councilmember Kelly mentioned going to the bell ringing for the signing of the Constitution, which always gives you a moment to think. It does provide a moment to pause and think how really lucky we are. Next week is Rosh Hashanah. It's a good time to think about how your year's been and how your next year will go, and if you'll have a sweet year. So it's time to be on our best behavior for sure. Thank you.
I only have a few things to report. I've been meeting with folks in regards to our air quality. That's something that we can't control necessarily as individuals, but we have to be aware of it. We have to be aware that, we can clean the filters in our cars and in our homes, but we can't escape it while we're in transition. So there are conversations on what we can do within our homes, but as the city, I think we just need to continue to give our thanks to Public Works that has gone out there and put down that palm mulch that can help suppress that. And I'm wondering if there is a way that we can elaborate on that, expand on that, and maybe entice or present to our fellow cities and say, look at some of our best practices. We look to other cities as a best practice. Can we encourage them to do the same? Because the sand blows, the wind comes from that end of the valley and all the way across. We can't control Palm Desert sand, but if we can get Walt Disney and all of the Disney characters to go and calm that down, it'll certainly help here. So I would like to see that be, again, what else can we do? What else can we do? And conversations about the fact that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and it is weird that it starts in the middle of September and goes to mid-October. And that is in recognition of how many countries were able to establish their independence from the colonizers from Spain, and all of the local events that are happening, and that we have in the Coachella Valley a Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. And that is to give the awareness to everyone that there is $3.2 trillion in Latino economic spending power that is under-recognized. And in the Coachella Valley, we can absolutely help support our local businesses with that awareness. And the excitement of looking at some of our agenda items, but I'll withhold those comments until we get to that item.
Mayor?
Yes.
At the CPAC Executive Committee, I have shared information about the use of palm mulch and encouraged some comparative analysis of how well that works compared to chemical applications. So I assure you that those conversations are happening.
That is wonderful. We like to lead the way. We like to lead the way.
And I was just going to add, Mayor, on the CVAG Energy and Environmental Committee, I will bring up the issue again at our next meeting, but I know that Tom Kirk is well aware of the air quality and wants to do what can be done for the whole valley.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, we move on to item number 8, non-agenda public comments. This time has been set aside for the public to address the City Council on issues that are not on the agenda for up to 3 minutes. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. Because the Brown Act does not allow City Council to act on items not listed on the agenda, members may briefly respond or refer the matter to staff for a report and recommendation at a future meeting. Mr. Clerk, would you please review the participation options and also let me know if there's online speakers?
And for those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your smartphone or computer. And if you're joining in by calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. And when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. And I do have one online speaker, Alex.
Hello. Thank you for hearing my comment today. My name is Alejandro de la Cruz, longtime resident of the Valley, and I want to talk about the upcoming elections based off of the Desert Sun article that came out a month ago. District 1 has Councilmember Karina Quintanilla running against Chris Scott, who just happens to be yet another realtor. He said, I quote, "You won't be hearing of radical changes from me. He never had political aspirations growing up here. I believe we are headed in the right direction." So first of all, we don't need another realtor in this council because we already know how that goes. No concern over affordable housing. And he basically admits that he has no goals for the city. So that sounds very useless. And I urge people to vote for Karina. District 2 has 2 challengers against Kathleen Kelly. Their names are Greg Ackerman and Joe Prodetto. I do not like these guys at all because they both want to raise funding for the police, and Joe Prodetto was endorsed by disgusting Chad Bianco. In the article, Kathleen says she wants to grow public transit options and eliminate traffic fatalities, which sounds amazing, but what I don't get is what's been going on with the last 4 years. You have been sitting on the Sunline Transit Board, yet we have only gotten an increase in wait times. Public transit has gotten worse in the Valley. They even split the Line 1 in half, making traveling across the Valley on the 111 much longer than it already was. So the results just don't show that you have been fighting for transit equity, but I'm willing to support you against these other candidates. And I hope you really can push for more buses, please. Also, please take the bus once a month so you can experience it for yourself as a board member. And for District 3, I urge residents to vote for Anise Smith, who will actually help with affordable housing. And that's pretty much all of my comments today. And defund the police. Thank you.
We have in-person comments from John Yambao.
I spoke at the September 12th meeting. I observed something offensive from two particular individuals, a man and a woman, who spoke before me addressing the mayor discourteously about her inadvertent Facebook post. I do not know these people. The man lectured the mayor on how she should listen when someone is speaking, making insulting comments about maintaining eye contact. I found his arrogance offensive. The woman expressed her displeasure about the post. I, in turn, was highly displeased and offended by the very personal, vitriolic tone of her comments. I thank the mayor and the city council for your service to the city. It can be a thankless job. All the more reason we, the residents of Palm Desert, should be grateful for your choosing to be civic servants. So thank all of you. The mayor does not need me to defend her. I'm sure she is highly capable of doing that on her own. We are all mature adults, are we not? When we address any of you, especially in disagreement, we should be respectful and show restraint and courtesy with our words. On another matter, when I spoke on September 12th, I had mentioned that I went to the Patriot store earlier that day. I left abruptly after about 15 minutes because a customer made offensive comments about some of its neighbors who were not Trump supporters. As the East Valley Republican Women Patriots group was leaving, I caught up with them outside to speak with someone about my experience. One of the ladies cut me off and said she does not want to talk to me because she knows where I stand. Of course, she really does not. The group should consider putting up a sign, if El Paseo or the city would permit it, saying the store is for Trump supporters only. I would not want anyone else to experience what I did. Such a negative experience potentially could create issues more serious than the mayor's inadvertent Facebook post. I will be reaching out to the city attorney for a contact name at El Paseo with whom I can speak about my experience. I want to know how they feel about, and is there a policy that addresses a business that welcomes people with certain political beliefs and appears to be okay if someone with different beliefs is made to feel uncomfortable on the premises. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carl Reinhardt.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, but I don't really have any comments.
Thank you. That was short and sweet. Brad Anderson, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Rancho Mirage, and I just want to take the opportunity to speak on the non-agenda where I'm here for other items today. I just want to encourage everybody, Alex, the person that called in, very informed about what's going on, and I think I encourage everybody to really do a deep dive into the political cycle or what's going on in this city. All the county in the whole. You talked about CVAG, Coachella Valley Association of Governments. That would be a good resource for people to go to those meetings. They're local. They're right over here in Civic Park, I guess you call it. And I attend those very often myself. And that's where the narratives usually begin on air quality and items like that. So it's good to see where these ideas or solutions are constructed, I guess. So I would encourage that. I wanted to and going off on that, Measure G, which is a sales tax increase, 1% that this city is going to already has put on the ballot. I think it's Measure G as in greed. No, I'm only kidding. That's how I remember it, but I know that's not correct. But I think, well, just some insight, the city of Palm Springs has the highest sales tax in the valley, and Cathedral City wants to raise theirs by 0.5%. They already did 1% a while back for the parks, I believe. So they will be tied with the city of Palm Springs. Desert Hot Springs is also trying to raise their sales tax too. I know as a consumer, I avoid Palm Springs just because of the sales tax. And I know the city has argued with the tourists that come in, they will flip the bill for a lot of it, which they will. But I buy a lot of dog food. I know I will see it in my pocketbook. I have friends across the street that been in assisted living for almost a year now, that I come here 3 times a week. So I'm in the city quite often now, every week. And it's just what they are charged there is just I think it's it varies from $11,000 to $14,000 per month. And that's just outrageous. I think a lot of people may not think that's that much, but I do. So sales tax like that will affect everybody, even the lowest of the lowest income earner, and they're going to hurt more. And well, I just urge the residents to vote on this, just to research it and vote how you like, but just look into it and just really be informed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments online? Okay, one speaker card. Storm Jenkins, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Just as I start off, last time I didn't get a chance to finish. Those signs are really hard to see from the gallery. Might be something you take a look at. Aside from that, I return to the issue of the matter between Mayor Quintanilla. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Quintanilla, like La Quinta?
Quintanilla? Okay. And both the Patriot Store and my business, I have felt in a sense, though I take exception with the mayor's comments, I also believe she should have the opportunity to respond to the many public questions that have been raised. And the Brown Act doesn't allow her to do that in these settings. So I have proposed a censure resolution for discussion. I sent copies to each of you. I left copies 2 weeks ago. I have heard nothing back. I have spoken to many people in the community who want this issue to be resolved. It can only be resolved with a very frank discussion and to determine whether or not the actions of the mayor were sufficiently appropriate to censure her or to recognize that her actions were correct. I'm disappointed that not one member has either contacted me. I'm disappointed to look at the agenda today to see it is not listed as an item. The issue is not going away. And perhaps any that are sympathetic, I know you can't speak to me here, but could contact me, whether it's a matter of getting sufficient number of signatures on a petition to get this before the board so we can have an open discussion about it, or any other matter, because this is something that needs to be nipped in the bud. It can't happen again. So I invite each and every one of you to contact me if you have any suggestions. I'm open to discussing this, and I know that there are many citizens of this city who want this issue aired once and for all. Thank you.
And again, there was no additional comments online?
No other public comment, Madam Mayor.
Perfect. We now move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one motion. The public may comment on any items on the consent agenda with a 3-minute time limit. Individual items may be removed by the City Council for separate discussion. Are there any items that my peers would like to discuss?
S.
S, okay. And I would like to pull E and S.
And Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Staff would like to pull item 9I to provide a brief update.
And I would request also item F as in Frank, please.
Okay. And what number was that?
I?
Okay. Okay. Let's see if we have any speakers here on those items. We have a lot of comments for item C. So let's take the public comments for 9C first. Oh, no, that's an E. C, okay. First public comment under item C from Mark Yates, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Yates. I'm a Southern California Regional Manager for Purchase Green Artificial Grass. And I'm on behalf of Purchase Green, but also on behalf of our local owned and operated Palm Desert branch. I just wanted to express some concerns over the motion to ban turf for use in city projects and what that could mean for the community. Communities, schools, businesses, and families across the country choose synthetic turf because of the benefits that it offers, including being accessible year-round, more affordable to maintain, and protecting the environment through reduced water and chemical use. There are actually many significant environmental benefits to using turf. It reduces water costs greatly and reduces water pollution compared to alternatives. One full-size synthetic sports field, for example, can save between 500,000 to 1 million gallons of water a year. Secondly, the use of synthetic turf reduces the need for chemicals, with runoff, toxic pesticides, and fertilizers as a principal cause of pollution. It will eliminate nearly 1 billion pounds of those harmful agents that are used to maintain real grass areas. In addition to environmental benefits, turf expands an area's functionality, and it does increase access for all communities. Synthetic turf allows families to enjoy benefits and athletes to play year-round, even in inclement weather. In contrast, the grass field cannot remain usable after 3 or 4 days a week, or in rain, or in months when grass cannot grow. Synthetic turf provides a space for multi-use competition and multiple sports to be played on a single field. According to the EPA, PFAS and other forever chemicals are ubiquitous in our environment, including water, air, soil, and a variety of food products. Synthetic turf contains no intentionally added PFAS, and numerous studies have indicated that environmental PFAS in and around synthetic fields are often less than that found in regular grass fields or other environments. For instance, a study conducted by Huntress Associates found out that the topsoil of a high school had significantly higher PFAS levels than the proposed synthetic field. Another study indicated that fluorinated substances in synthetic turf do not pose an imminent risk to players. When it comes to recycling, there are several examples that the industry is making significant progress in improving recyclability of turf. That is something that is very important, and our industry takes seriously our commitment to sustainable practices and responsible end-of-life solutions for turf. We're committed to continuing to move forward to a more sustainable future. So it does provide many environmental benefits, increased access, and cost savings for communities across the country. Motions to ban synthetic turf that would hinder access to these benefits should be reconsidered. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Good timing. Paul Donhauser?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. I just heard of this issue today or yesterday, and I'm a founder of Estate Greens. So we started in 1997, mainly providing putting greens for backyards. We were in the agronomy business prior to that on the golf course. So I thought, hey, I better come and speak out about turf because that's something I know about. And I just want to make sure we're confining this to the study in 23 was basically very different issues, but an array of issues, I should say. But this is about the medians, is it not? For starters. So I could just confine my comments to that and read through briefly last night some of the findings, and some things popped out to me. And I don't think this is probably going to be evolving, the turf issues, because there's so many different uses for it. Fields, which a gentleman mentioned, golf, which I dwell in that space mostly, but I do a lot of lawns. But when I started, the lawns really weren't popular. Water conservation wasn't a big issue here in the valley, and the product is nice. And so I'm thinking to myself, the least problematic one is the ornamental use of the turf, because the obvious reasons, contacting with it, and you're just trying to mix the palette, the color palette a little bit, so you can combine it with xeriscaping. And if it's maintained properly and designed and installed properly, it's a good choice. So I was thinking to myself, why eliminate a choice when the city can already just not do it? And since 97, the city really hasn't done much of it. Just why do we need to ban it? Is that going to bleed over to other businesses which we help? Or I sort of have questions of my own, but if we were to be your client, or if we were to put it in, we would have training on maintenance and it'd be fairly easy. So they kind of overstated the maintenance part. When you do it properly, it really looks nice as an option. I was thinking to myself, why take the green crayon out of the box, and limit yourself? You can always use it in different ways. There's so many examples of ornamental projects that are successful. If you look at the Hyatt, the entrance, it's there for a reason. They want to create an experience for the customer. I came back from Phoenix once and I was amazed going down Monterey, how beautiful our medians were compared to Phoenix. Phoenix was just nothing against Phoenix. Just a lot of rock and not thought out. But I was amazed. This is my home. This is
Thank you
incredible.
very much. Your time is up.
There you go.
Thank you.
But I am available for any
Our time,
consultation on that.
thank you. Joanne Barchett? How do you pronounce your name? Borchert, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joanne Borchert, and my husband Gerald and I are owners of Purchase Green Artificial Grass here in Palm Desert, and we have been owners of the local business here for 10 years. And I just wanted to tag along on what Mark and Paul have both both discussed about artificial grass. And if somebody could get in touch with me or my husband, I would like to know if somebody from the council could determine public rights of way. And I know that this discussion will be ongoing, and we have had several thousands of square foot of grass that we have installed over the years, and it is very important to us to hear back from somebody from the council just to explain to us what your public rights of way means. Thank you.
Thank you. On that item of 9C, do my peers have any questions or comments?
I do have a comment. I didn't take the opportunity, but I do not want to vote yes for this item. I am not.
Can I interrupt
Yes.
before we give that opinion? I know how you feel strongly about it, but I would like to have staff have the opportunity to present so that we can clarify some of the questions that were asked.
Okay.
Not to
Thank you.
jump ahead of you
Yes.
with.
Mhm.
Madam Mayor, I believe Mr. Anderson wanted to speak on this item plus another item.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. Brad Anderson, City Ranch Mirage. I thought it was overlooked. Yes, item 9C, and I have 9R too, which is the violence of city council members, or not of city council members. But I already written comments for both items, so I will just really concentrate on item 9C, and that's a resolution approving artificial turf and synthetic grass administrative policy, which is meaning for everybody else, and I guess there will be a staff report, which is good. The city wants to ban those items in the public right of way. And I believe the city only has one little area on El Paseo that has artificial turf now. I'm not, I just guess I want to urge the city council to reconsider this type of banning of a certain product, because it's a commercial venture. You have companies that do that in your city, and it's a slippery slope. I understand the premise of all this. I think it's Senate Bill 676, but I just want to urge this council to reconsider the broad stroke that you're taking to ban a commercial item from being installed in the city. And I think the planning commission can look at items individually per item, per development or per, I guess, construction job or whatever it might be. I am concerned of how the city report was so damning to that artificial turf and that type of, I guess, landscape fabric, I would call it, because a lot of the, well, the findings are there. The city hasn't supplied the proper, I guess, documentation to prove that there numerous studies, and I couldn't find any of those numerous studies. So I only found one report, and that's from the state of California, which you're mirroring in this, I guess, banning of this subject. But I guess I just want to urge you to reconsider doing this. I think it's just too broad, and I understand. I looked back in the study session, and it looks like one council member was really pushing this, and I seen that at the subcommittee too. And I understand the premise of it, but it's not good for business. It's not good for the city. So I would hopefully you can reconsider doing this. And thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, you've addressed item R as well, and you do not want to come back for item 9R, correct? Just to double check? Okay, just ensuring since it's on record here. Cross that out. Can we have a staff report on that item now? I think it's important to address.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, fellow council members, Julia Breyer, Management Analyst in Public Works. The item before you is the policy for council's consideration to prohibit the installation of synthetic grass and artificial turf, and I'm available for any questions.
Can we clarify for our residents and those watching that have not read the report, is this only in city owned by the city of Palm Desert? Does this apply to commercial? Because it doesn't apply to residential, correct?
That's
So
correct.
Where are the boundaries that we are discussing that this would apply to?
So this is restricted to everything that applies within the city of Palm Desert for public right-of-ways, medians, open spaces.
So just that little strip of sidewalk next to something, but we're not telling any business that you can't have this on your area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think that that was one of the concerns, or several of our people that are attending from the business community said, we don't want this banned. We don't want to have people feel like they're told what to do. And that's not the intention of how this is written. And I greatly support that. For context, I recall that when this came about, we were looking at the absorption of impact and why it wouldn't be good in parks specifically. But I think that here, what we are looking at is where we've got high traffic, where we see people walking their dogs, for example. So I think that it's important to find a balance. Have you found that, maybe this is too technical to ask you in responding on some of the PFAS levels, but I did hear a click. Do you have a question, Councilmember Kelly?
I did. Thank you. Is my impression correct? We also have other policy speaking to public rights of ways such as the medians, for example, defining which plants, which genres of plants we will or will not utilize to assure water conservation. We have such policies without demanding that everyone follow the same practices in their backyards. Am I correct in that?
That's correct. And currently we are working, city staff is currently working to develop a landscape master plan to implement that to, for example, have a 3-tier palette for the median so we can select accordingly and implement that.
So it's not unusual for us to adopt a policy about what we do or do not prefer without that becoming a slippery slope into regulating everyone's personal landscaping.
Correct. I agree.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kelly, if I could add just to that point, Our current ordinance is drought efficient, water, efficient ordinance for our medians. We actually do not allow turf, even natural turf in our medians. And so we have a constant awareness of water conservation throughout the city in our right-of-ways and parks.
And I would just also clarify that we had another similar issue, and that was the sand fencing that we put up a couple of years ago. And the purpose for a policy like this to be adopted, it's not to put the nose under the tent, it's to memorialize the council's legislative thoughts at the time they make the decision. The council can always change something down the road, but we spend an enormous amount of staff time digging up why we're doing what we're doing, and there's no records. So one of the things that we've asked is that we bring these types of policies there so a future council can have an easy access to what was the council thinking at the time, why did they make that decision, and it's on record. It's an extremely efficient way to use your time, a future council's time and staff time. So that's why we do these types of things.
I do want to add, we have a resource preservation and enhancement committee, and it is one of the bodies who had in-depth discussions on this issue. They talked about it a lot, and I do want to, you've heard it over and over. This is for the medians, for the open spaces. This is city-owned property. It's not any kind of government creep. It is just for the city-owned properties, and to keep with the quality and the character that has been set forth for our medians, for our open spaces. As a liaison on Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee, RPEC, I just listen and report out what they say. They had an in-depth conversation. It was a unanimous decision to suggest this and forward this to the council. So it's our community members who have come upon this decision and are recommending it today. And again, this is strictly for the right-of-ways and the city-owned properties. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I would love to follow up with our speaker that mentioned about the updates, changes, and improvements and how it can be recycled. Because I think that was one of the big concerns that we had last time on whether it is biodegradable and the different components and the offset of saving water versus all of the chemicals. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
A motion on.
I am
this
ready for a
item?
motion on item E.
I will, C, we're on C.
Oh, sorry, see, I've got my note of to pull E over here, not comments.
I will move staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Motion passes 3-2 with Councilmember Nastandi and Councilmember Truby voting no.
Next item would be item E, please. We have one speaker. Mr. Josh Hines.
I can relax when I speak with you guys, so thanks for having me here. I'm really here just to applaud you guys for doing this. I think it's going to pass. I kind of wanted to wait until it passed and then say thank you, but I'm really here to say thank you. As you know, I'm a parent of 3 autistic sons on the autism spectrum, and at my job at Visit Greater Palm Springs, I'm championing this initiative to become certified autism destination. So what you're going to do with this, you've already set a precedent and an example to everyone else throughout the valley as being the first city government to get their staff trained and become certified autism center. And now you're setting aside this fund, this reimbursement fund. And so now you're going to set the example for all the other cities, and it's just going to make the dominoes fall and put the pressure on them to do the right thing as well. So I'm just here to say thank you. From being an employee that's trying to do this, but also from being a parent in the community. So thanks for your work, Eric, Mariello. Tell her I said thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Did I say the right thing? Yeah. All right. Anyway, I'm going to leave that alone and vote so I can take a picture of it and so I can start posting it and telling all the parents out here that I know that it's passed. So thank you.
I have a comment and not a question, but I would still like to have a staff report on item 9E.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Eric Sayad, Director of Economic Development. The program that's in front of you today really sets aside $30,000 of our existing business enhancement program dedicated for autism certification through the IBCCES. As was recognized, the City of Palm Desert is the second city in the nation to get certified as an autism center city. And we want to provide that opportunity specifically to our hospitality and attractions that are here in the City of Palm Desert with the aim of becoming an autism certified destination, which really helps promote tourism, inclusive tourism, and economic growth for the city.
Thank you. We go through our giant packets, and a lot of the times it's not extremely exciting reading as we go through contracts, but with this one, I have to admit I was very emotional, and I'm still emotional. And I've had many conversations with our disability advocates and autism advocates, and I'm proud that we are the first city in California. I'm proud that we're the second in the nation. I'm proud of all of our staff that took that time, invested their energy, and to our HR that took handle of that and made it happen, because we are showing our commitment. And this isn't just about creating an environment that's welcoming for families, but for those that can't see the stats that come with it. One of the things that was important for me to keep pushing for this initiative was that the autism travel website is part of the credentialing committee. It lets people know where they can go with their families that feel safe and feel welcome. And for example, there is from a 2022 survey, says, are you hesitant to travel or visit a new location because you and or your child is on the spectrum? 78% said yes. Would you take more vacations or visit more new places if you had access to autism-trained and certified options? 94% said yes. That's a very, very big difference. When we have 1 in 6 people with a sensory need and 1 in 36 children with autism, we have $268 billion that is spent annually on autism services and $29 billion that's being spent annually by travelers with disabilities, and that does not include their companions. That number is growing, and we are showing as the City of Palm Desert that we see you, we appreciate you, we welcome you, and I encourage our businesses to take advantage of it. This is an extremely beneficial opportunity, not only for what the certification does, but the personal growth and empathy that comes with it. So this is a monumental achievement. And I couldn't be more proud of everyone that took part in it, because I know you've gone forward and shared some of this with your loved ones. So thank you with the deepest appreciation.
Feel free to make the motion.
I gratefully move to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item F. Was it Councilmember Kelly? Did you pull F? Oh, okay, please.
Good afternoon,
Do you have
Madam Mayor.
specific questions that, oh, okay, perfect, thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Council. I'm Randy Chavez, Deputy Director of Public Works. Happy to answer any questions.
That's the report. Thank you, Randy. I appreciate it. So one thing I didn't notice in the staff report was, and I always like to see these numbers, spending in previous years, because to me, this all of a sudden comes at us as a standalone item. I have no perspective. Is it a lot? Is it a little? Can you give me some idea of the last 3 years, what we spent annually on this same services?
So the last 3 years, I'd have to do a little bit more research on that. But during the last year, it's varied. I think we're up to about $750,000, and the year before, about $300,000. What it is, each project, each capital improvement project that's street related, there's an amount of money that is set aside for design portion of it. So we'd have to go and look at each individual project and see how much funds were allocated for design services. That's what makes it a little difficult, but the contract we have now is expiring, and we just want to have this contract, these contractors or consultants in place to move forward with the additional CIP projects that we have on the books.
Perfect. And right now we're allocating $1 million. Doesn't mean we're going to spend it. It's almost like just having these, if we come to these consultants and say, hey, we need some help or services on a particular project, it may very well turn out we spend $500,000.
Yeah, yes, that is correct.
Okay, perfect. And I know, does this fall under the situation where, say you have a $100,000 project that you need to move forward with and design, will you have to come back to the council to approve that? Or is this sort of a carte blanche deal where we've already approved the $1 million and now it's up to staff to spend as they please?
No, what it is, and I know the figure.
As they need.
Yeah.
It's a good observation, just saying.
So what it is, this dollar amount, we have two big projects earmarked for this fiscal year. One of them is a traffic management system that is replacing our computer system that manages most of our signals. Some of our signals are going to be managed by CVAG under the CV Sync. Our system is 30, 40 years old, so we want to bring that up to par. So these are big ticket items that are programmed for this year, but for next fiscal year, it may dip down a little bit less than $1 million. But this is up to, but to answer your question, we may not need all of it, depending on what the design services come in at.
Perfect. Thank you, Randy. No more questions from me.
And I believe that you have requested, any other questions? We're good. Would you like to move?
I will move to approve item F.
I'll second the motion.
Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Clerk, you said it was item I that staff would like to pull?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and I'll defer to Mr. Eric Ceja.
Yes, good evening again, Mayor and members of City Council. Today, we're proposing our Business Emergency Assistance Program. Essentially, as you know, there was a fire earlier this year at Plaza de Monterey Shopping Center that destroyed a building and 4 local businesses. Staff immediately began outreach to those businesses to see how we can aid them in reopening as quickly as possible. This program is essentially a codification of that, where staff will do the outreach. Businesses can qualify under these criteria where they're damaged or have forced to close through some sort of emergency, either like a fire or flood. There's an application process for them. And essentially what it does, it sets aside $10,000 for each business to get permit fees or inspection fees waived through the city in hopes that we can get them open as quickly as possible. One thing that staff wanted to pull this item for was to mention that what we want to add to the eligibility criteria is that this would apply for businesses in good standing with the city, meaning that they have a business license and they're up to date on their payments or any sort of code issues that have been addressed with the city, but also that the business has been open for at least 3 years and operated here in the city.
Any questions? Okay, I think that's a great opportunity.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item, item P. And questions I have regarding this question is, this is an amendment to ratify the amendments of the contract for Desert Willow Greens T-box renovation and turf reduction. Is there anyone that can speak on Desert Willow?
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, Martin Alvarez, Director of Public Works. These contracts here are being requested to be ratified. We've been working with Herman Design Group as part of the Firecliff Golf Course renovation project. These are design changes that were required during the process as unforeseen circumstances came up to make field adjustments that were required to fulfill the project. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Those unforeseen like issues or what kind of things caused the delay?
Absolutely. We can give you some examples. In the staff report, we identified there was a main line on the Firecliff T-box number 10 that had to be relocated. We had to have some adjustments done, grading adjustments to accommodate a wider a golf cart path. There were also some turf reduction areas that we amended so that we can add additional plant materials to address the aesthetics of the areas that were reduced in turf. And then there were also some just minor adjustments for field changes for sod, irrigation, and things like that.
Thank you. I know this is more of a finance question to our finance director. Since this says that it says that this does not come from the general fund, that it comes from the Desert Willow Fund, is that something that we've got plenty of money for them to finish catching up what they need?
We do. The city collects amenity fees on an annual basis, and there is substantial funds there for this purpose.
Perfect. So they haven't used the general fund in a long time or, okay, perfect. Yeah, because someone brought up an interesting report and I was very concerned and wanted to ensure that the city's situation and debt or any concerns have been settled after the state controller identified problems with Palm Desert's audit in 2011, citing the use of redevelopment funds. And I think that they suggested that the city get that money back because the money that was designed for redevelopment and to address blight was not used according to the state's purpose, because they said it was supposed to be for health and safety, and the city instead used 16.7 million to provide renovation for 18 greens, reshaping the bunkers, fairway bunkers, installing new bunkers, drainage improvements, bunker liners, new sand, and restoration of lake edges. So someone brought it up, and I wanted to ensure that that has all been settled, addressed, and there will be no need to use any general fund.
All the hotels, the homes that are adjacent to Desert Willow pay into a fund each year. That fund was used to fund the improvements at Desert Willow this year. So there's no taxpayer funds, no general fund involved in this.
So that was surprising, and I just wanted to be sure that it's out there. No further questions.
Move to approve.
Second the motion.
Motion passes 5-0. And Madam Mayor, I do want to note, I believe you have a speaker card from Mr. Donald Ziegler for 9J.
Yes, thank you. Let's go back to item J, please. Mr. Ziegler, please come forward.
Good afternoon. Well, again, I'm Donald Ziegler, and I wish to speak about agenda item 9J, which is on the consent calendar. I want to express my general agreement with the agenda item as presented for approval and my general agreement with the document attached to it, the working draft list of potential CVAG reduction measures. I understand that this is a working document and will be updated in coordination with city staff and with the RPE committee as the process proceeds. But as I saw it on the agenda, I am concerned, however, that items on page 4 of the draft list, which I believe you received my written comments, so I won't repeat them, but they're under the heading of renewable energy generation. And there's a box on the form to indicate whether we should include this item in your municipality, include for your municipality. And to me, that implies that it's whether or not your city has an interest in that topic. And it's under, again, the heading of renewable energy generation. Many items in other categories in the draft list were marked yes, so the fact that these were not is puzzling. I believe Palm Desert should very much want to have its concerns addressed in the final climate action plan regarding these topics, and that the city knows that it will need to play a role in implementing goals for them when the plan is finally finished. Again, these are under the heading of renewable energy generation, solar panels and batteries and all that goes with it. And again, I acknowledge that this is a working draft, so there'll be plenty of time to continue and move forward with it, and there'll be other opportunities to change it. I just want to make sure, as it stands now, that it's clearly understood that by the city and by CVAG, who this document was submitted to, that not putting yes in those boxes does not indicate that Palm Desert does not have a responsibility and concern about those items, and that they will be addressed in the city's final climate action plan. I personally think it would have been better to mark them yes, even in this early stage in the process, so there's no uncertainty. If the council agrees with that, then perhaps an amended copy of this form could be sent to CVAG with those boxes marked yes. Again, documents matter. What's written on paper matters. So we can talk about all these things, but at this stage in the process, I would really like it to be certified that Palm Desert cares about these issues.
Much, Mr. Ziegler, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Could we invite Ms. Lawrence to speak to this topic?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Amy Lawrence, Deputy Director of Economic Development. And you did hear from Mr. Ziegler that these items were not included in the measures on that report. Those were a draft list of items. We have Jacob Alvarez here from CVAG, who is representing CVAG in the Regional Climate Action Plan they're putting together. I did speak with him, and he mentioned that anything that's not included at this time or anything that is included at this time can either be included or removed. So again, this is a draft of measures. We can include that at any time. So if there's anything that the council wanted to include or take out, that can still happen. As I mentioned in my report, these measures and the entire plan, the entire concept is going to be going before the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee, where also this item tonight was an informational report to inform the City Council of the process so that we can start working on community outreach per the consultants' emails that they wanted us to send out to the stakeholders. And so once we start doing that, we'll begin getting feedback from the community as to what measures they would like to be included in the plan as well. So at any time, these items can be included in the plan. Bless you.
May I? So if I'm understanding you correctly, this is not before us for action now. It will come back to us for action after further input such as we just heard.
Yes, that's correct. This was an informational item to let you know that this is the plan that, this is a project that's currently going on with CVAG for the Regional Climate Action Plan, and that we will be working with the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee to get information. We'll be sending information out to stakeholders to gather additional information they would like to see included in the plan. The draft will then go before the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee and then come before City Council for review before it is finalized.
Any other questions? With our very extensive, detailed, beautiful spreadsheet that's, I don't know, 12, 18 pages of the plan, and I know you've maintained that at length. Do any of these overlap of things that we're already doing as a city? Because it seems stuff that I think I remember seeing.
This is you're referring to the measures, the GHG reduction measures, the attachment to the staff report?
No, there is, every so often you sent it out and it's got
Oh.
teeny tiny micro print
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful document.
It's
That's
the
what I
environmental
meant.
initiatives plan that we send out quarterly.
Yes.
Yes, there is some overlapping that we do. So, I mean, such as you can see the waste diversion, resource efficiency. So it's adoption of a construction and demolition waste recovery ordinance. So there's some things in here that we are already doing that we'll be including in the plan.
So I just wanted to be sure to let everyone know, we are very on top and meticulous about how we can comply and lead the way in some of these initiatives. So it's great to know that this is version 1. We're probably already working on more of these than people realize. And, you know, as Mr. Ziegler said, words matter, and we'll get to the best way to move these things forward. But thank you very much. Any additional comments, questions, motions?
Well, it's an informational item, so it's.
We just moved to receive and file.
Receive and file.
I'll second if we need to. If not, I'll vote.
Did I lock it? Did I take it? Oh.
Motion passes 5-0.
The last item that was pulled was item S.
That's me. I've been the squeaky wheel on street sweeping, and thank you. I greatly appreciate the extent of the effort and detail that has gone into staff's examination of this. I have 2 pieces of feedback. The first is, don't buy everything the current provider is selling. The representation or the excuse seems to be we can't do a better job because there are too many cars parked on the street. So my testimony is there was a time when street sweepers meticulously went to the curb when it was available and to the street when cars were in the way. Now my observation is they careen down the middle of the street as fast as they can go. So file that. The second bit of feedback is an app that people have to use to find out when the street sweeper will come is not the solution. There may be some members of the public who just feel they don't have enough apps and they're desperate to download another one. But most people just want to understand a regular schedule that the street sweeper will follow. And there was a time when they could. You know, on my street, they came reliably the day after the trash was picked up every other week. Now it's erratic. And in fact, sometimes they come the same day all the trash cans are out. So obviously they're not going to be able to sweep the curb. So keep up the good work. I love the notion of continuing to monitor for 6 months to see if we can work with these folks or not. But again, don't buy everything they're selling. And let's get back to a world in which people can reliably expect a street sweeper at a predictable time without having to get out their phone and use an app.
And remember a new password. You bring up great points. Any other?
So I'll move S along with the remainder that we haven't yet addressed.
So you move to approve for 6 months?
Well, I think this was another receipt in the file.
Receive and file.
So S with the remainder.
Second.
Motion passes 5-0 to receive and file this item, as well as move the balance of the consent calendar.
Now we move on to the action calendar. The public may comment on individual action items within the 3-minute time limit. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. Do we have any comments on that one, Mr. Clerk? These were all consent items and public comments.
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Okay. The item reads, approve an affordability restriction and regulatory agreement. Yes.
One moment, please. I need to recuse myself from the matter consistent with FPPC Regulation 18707. I'm recusing myself due to business entity interests in my spouse's corporation and the Romer and Harnack LLP law firm of which he is a partner. In addition, I am recusing myself due to a source of income interest in clients of my husband's law firm, which includes Claudia Bravo, a principal of the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. So to finish the item title, approve an affordability restriction and regulatory agreement density bonus with Bravo Garden Apartments LLC, including a concession providing for reimbursements of impact fees from the city's housing mitigation fees. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Joe Barron. I'm the Contracts and Grants Analyst. Today, this item in front of you is the Bravo Gardens Agreement. And just for background, my apologies. So for background, on April 26, 2018, a resolution was passed for a development for 388 apartment units, of which 20% of them were going to be reserved for affordable housing, and 5 of those units will be intended for tenants who work within the city limits. This restriction is going to be for 55 years, and the developer has up to $180,000 to use in order to make those restrictions. Since the approval of the resolution, the developer has accomplished several key milestones listed out here, which include the Architectural Review Committee, the zoning approval and construction permits, and also construction funding. So this evening, staff is recommending the approval of the items recommended. I'm available to answer any questions.
Please.
Are they going to move forward with this?
We would hope, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what can you tell us? The public is curious.
We can tell you that they have represented to us that they've obtained their funding. They've recently obtained all the approvals from the ARC as well. So we expect them to move forward.
That's great news. Wonderful. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Before we do so, how do they determine who are the Palm Desert residents? Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks that apply. How do we know how those are set aside?
That is a great question. I think right now we have obviously put those stipulations in there, and they would be responsible to making sure that those residents work within the city limits.
And they work really closely with staff to ensure that they're abiding by those requirements.
Perfect. It was just, we've seen so many that are, for example, specifically for veterans or those fleeing domestic violence. And just, it seems very interesting that there are 7 for people that are most likely already going to meet that criteria. So it seemed like saying, oh, I've got this water fountain and I'm going to set aside this many gallons of water for the fountain when it was already going into the fountain. So I was curious to see how that became their unique element of how they were presenting this. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, this item was approved back in 2018, and unfortunately, I don't have the historical knowledge on that, but if anybody on the dais can.
And is the question related to the Palm Desert employees?
So it's specifically people that work for the city and not people that are employed in Palm Desert?
It's people that live within Palm Desert, that people that are employed within the city boundaries of Palm Desert. And the reason why they're able to use those numbers is because we're asking them to use housing mitigation funds, and those funds are specifically intended for Palm Desert employees for residential purposes.
Perfect. Thank you. That was just kind of stood out a little bit for me. Okay. You have moved. I would like to.
I've moved.
I will second.
Motion passes 4-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Harnick recused.
Okay. Having completed our one action item, we move to public hearings. The public may comment on individual public hearing items within the 3-minute time limit. The applicant or appellant will be provided up to 5 minutes to make the presentation. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. Do we have any speakers online or in person?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Public hearing is open.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council, Joe Barron again. Today, we're conducting a public hearing in order to give the public the ability to provide comments on our annual consolidated evaluation report related to the Community Development Block Grant Program. Next slide, please. The FY 23-24 consolidated plan is required by HUD, and in order for us to receive continuing funding, and this year, for 23-24, we received $393,000, and we assisted 1,254 folks, and 100% of them are, 80% of them are below the poverty line. Right here, you will see the agencies that we supported, their funding allocations, and their expended amount, and the folks that they served. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Are there any speakers, questions, comments, Mr. Clerk? Okay. Any questions or comments from the dais? Okay, well then at that point, public hearing is closed. Do we have any information items left standing?
I need a motion.
Okay, just making the motion regarding the public hearing.
To receive the report. Is that what you need?
And I'll second to receive the report and file.
Motion passes 5-0.
Now, do we have any informational items? Okay, meeting is adjourned at 5:54 p.m.